What's up, guys? Back for another Facebook group Rant Fridays. Let's recap how this is going to go. You should know the formula by now. I go inside Amazon seller Facebook groups. I offer commentary in 5 different parts. Part 1, I go on a crazed rant. Part 2, I stir up unnecessary drama. I say things I shouldn't say. Part 3, I give you specific, tactical, actionable Amazon selling advice you can go make money with. Part 4, I do buy or pass. I show you a book on a scanning app that I find in a Facebook group. I tell you what I buy it or pass on it based on the data I see in the scanning app. In part 5, I give you life lessons disguised as Amazon lessons. I get a little bit deep, a little bit philosophical. Let's get into it. Okay, this brings up a lot of thoughts. Let's get into it. This person said, have you guys heard about TickTock and that they want to be Amazon's competition? They are planning on becoming a store, and I feel like that will make us sellers, it's a little bit broken English here, but an easier job to sell with so many restrictions because Amazon will want us to work and put them on, I don't know. It descends into gibberish here, but the person's saying they had heard a rumor, maybe it's not a rumor, I don't follow the news. They heard a rumor that TickTock is going to become a store that's going to be competitive with Amazon. And will this be good or bad for Amazon sellers? Now, I'm not going to address this question because I have no insight into this. I'm going to address a much bigger question of an issue that I see come up among sellers a lot, which is making decisions in the present based on things they think might happen years down the road. So the biggest, most obvious one, and I have heard, hundreds of times I've heard this, where people say, you know what? I'm getting out of the business because I saw something on MSNBC that said that ebooks are going to take over books. So I'm getting out of this business. Or more commonly, I was thinking about getting into the business, but I decided not to because I think books aren't going to be selling very well in a few years. I heard in the news that ebooks are going to take over. People are reading less and less, and this is not going to be a viable business years down the road. To which my response is, what does that have to do with now? Like, there's almost no businesses. In fact, weirdly, book selling has been one of the most resilient businesses over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Weirdly. You wouldn't think so, but it has been. It's very hard to think of a business that has not been disrupted and made obsolete in the last, 10 years. Like, this has happened to tons and tons of businesses. Now, not like the staples, the flower shops or all the stuff that's like timeless. But think of all the different trends that have come and gone in terms of selling things on the internet. Books have been among the most timeless and the most resilient. So if there's any category where you're going to be, casting these like weird theories about what's happening in the future on and making decisions in the present, books would not be the category to choose. But why are we doing that with anything? I mean, most businesses you're going to start, you should go in with the expectation it's going to be disrupted in the next 5 years. That's going to be just about any business. If you're looking for a business that is absolutely immune to disruption, you got to become a prostitute. I'm sorry. I hate to be uncouth here, but like what other business could you go into? What makes me concerned about the people that have these fears is, why do you need to enter a business that has a 100,000% chance of being undisruptible over the next 5 years? I would argue that business really doesn't exist, but it's more of an issue of like, why do you need that level of certainty? Now, that would be, you would need that level of certainty if you're going into a business where the on-ramp was 5 years. In other words, like, I don't know, you were going to start start the fundraising process for some big enterprise and it was going to take you years to raise the money, or that would kind of make sense, that mindset. But for every business I can think of, it wouldn't take me years to get started. So why do I care what's happening years from now? You could start almost any business. I mean, with book selling, you can start tomorrow. You can start today. Most businesses you can start within a couple months. Don't worry about what's happening in 5 years. It doesn't matter. Or 3 years. It doesn't matter. You should not be making decisions. And things do change, you pivot. Doesn't necessarily mean you throw in the towel and go back and get a day job. You just pivot. You figure out how you take the foundation you built with your existing business and how you can tweak it to accommodate the current reality. But you never make a business decision now based on what you think might happen in 5 years because MSNBC told you that TikTok is going to become an Amazon rival. All right, guys, fun experiment time. This person posted a screenshot of their sales. Now, my theory is that almost 100% of the time when someone posts a screenshot of their sales and they're celebrating, hey, I made $1,000 this month or whatever, there is always one person in the comments in every Facebook post that says, how many books do you have in your inventory? Now, if you haven't heard my rant about this, I'm going to give it again very briefly here. The number of books in your inventory and the amount of money you make the relationship between those is minimal. Everybody thinks if they see someone like this person here with $1,800 sales, if they just have the exact same number of books as them, they'll have the exact same revenue. That is absolutely not how it works. Not at all. Not even close. Asking the question, how many books are in your inventory, should not be in the first 5 or 10 questions you ask anybody when you're impressed with their sales. So again, just because I've multiple times I've said, hey, there's always that one person. Let's find out if there is that one person. So congratulations. Let's see, there's 9 comments. Out of curiosity. Aha! Listen, when you're right, you guys. I've spent enough time looking at these posts. I know how this works. There's always the one guy. Justin Amo, and again, or Joan, and this is not calling out anyone. I understand why you would think it's a legitimate question, you know, if you're newer. How many books do you have in your inventory? Again, you guys, you can have 1,000 books and make 3 times more than someone with 5,000 books. I've seen it a million times. Okay, cool post. So this person says, I purchased my first Gaylord of books, in other words, a big quantity of books at once. I sorted through them and took all the ones that I could sell. Now I'm stuck with a bunch of books taking up space. Any idea how to dispose of them? So there's lots of things I could say here. This probably deserves a video of its own. Weirdly, my most popular video was how to take books and bundle them to sell on eBay. I don't know why that video was so popular, but check out that video. That's probably where I would start. The short version is, you take a large quantity of books, you group them by subject as narrowly as you can, subject or author, as narrowly as you possibly can, and then sell the bundled sets as lots on eBay. People are willing to pay a lot more for bundled book sets on eBay than they are for the individual titles. You get more than you can on Amazon. They're paying you basically to curate. So that's one thing. I have a whole video about that. But my real go-to answers here, number one, just put them up on Craigslist. If the quantity is big enough, so you either do it free or you charge a little bit of money. If the quantity is big enough, you can charge like $50 for like thousands of books, and you will get a significant amount of interest, like more than you would think. Okay, that's number one. If you don't have like thousands and thousands of books, you have less than thousands of books. Just put them on Craigslist in the free section, and just have people come pick them up. The only thing I emphasize is they have to do the work. So I make sure it's really clear in the ad. You get these books for free, but you have to do the loading, because a lot of times people show up and they want you to do the loading. And maybe it's a me thing, but I can't do that. I refuse to give something away and then be asked to work to give it away. So a little tip there, but yeah, Craigslist is the move. And what I like even better than all of the above is to donate them somewhere that can actually use them. It's just very challenging. Like, you can't donate books to prisons, because they won't like take randos donating books. This person's here, there's a comment here that says some nursing homes accept books. That's awesome. If you've got an idea like that, that's obviously the best thing to do, is donate them. There's all over this town, there is what they call little free libraries. So the little like book stands, and you leave book, and then it says, leave a book, take a book. And so I'm doing way more leaving than I do taking with those. But when the quantity is too big, you can't really do the little free libraries. But a lot of these are popping up all over the country. In fact, when I travel, I see these little free libraries everywhere. They're just little stands with they almost look like birdhouses, but they're like, little like super miniature libraries that can hold like 30 books or something. See if your town has one of those. It's a program that's spreading all over the country. But it's not going to work for like large quantities of books. But yeah, there's some ideas to work with. Okay, this is a very interesting one. And this is actually going to stretch my brain a little bit. And I can warn you right now, I'm not going to give you a very satisfying answer. There's not going to be a cut and dry answer to this. So I'm just going to kind of give you my thought process and kind of put you in the head of somebody and how at least one person, me, would think about this question. So here's the question. This person's asking about books priced way higher than what they've sold for historically. This person says, I have several books listed in the $200 to $900 range that historically sell for less according to the Keep It chart. I don't want to drop the price and be the one who tanks the listing, but I'd rather actually sell the book than congratulate myself on a bunch of high value listings and that just sit there. Should I drop my price closer to the price it's usually sold for, or should I leave it and see if anyone's willing to pay $800 for a book that usually sells for $200? Okay, so I have a couple thoughts about this. So first of all, I'm just going to kind of take you through the thought process. So if I've got a book, and let's just say the Keepa seems to indicate the average. Keepa doesn't tell you what it's sold for, obviously, but it's a big misconception. Keepa tells you what it's listed for historically, and you can line that up with the sales rank charts and try to figure out. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So let's say a book that Keepa shows historically has been listed for $200 for a long period of time, and let's say the lowest price right now is, like this person said, $800. Just one example. So the question is, would I match that lowest price, that $800 price, or would I go ahead and price it something closer to what's historically been listed at? So this is primarily a question of sales rank. Now, if the average sales rank, let's say, is 1 million, or something that's not terribly bad, I would probably keep that $800 price. I'd probably hold my ground there and just see what happens. Now, if this is a book that's not selling once every week or 2 weeks or month, it's selling every few months or more, I'm probably going to want to lower my price to something I would consider realistic. Personally, and I know lots of people have, but personally, I've never sold a book for above $499. And that may just be because I've never been bold enough to do that. Actually, I take that back. Okay, sorry, that's not true, but that's largely true. I've only sold a couple few maybe over that. But the point is, and the reason should be pretty obvious here, but if you've got a buyer coming along, let's say every 2 weeks, book ranked 1 million, could be a week, could be 2 weeks. Let's say every 2 weeks. Then in a 6-month period, you've got 12 chances for somebody to look at your offer, assuming you maintain that lowest price or you're matched with it. You got 12 opportunities for a sale. So that's, you got to, there's 12 people that comes along. It just takes one of them to spend $800 in your book. To want that book badly enough, they're going to pay you $800 for it. Now, if a book's only selling once every 6 months, let's say it's got a rank of, 4 or 5 million or something. That's a little bit different. Now you've only got one person coming along every 6 months. 12 is a much bigger number than 1. So sales rank really means everything here. The other thing I would look at, and this is where we're getting a little bit advanced. I don't want to lose too many of you, but this is a really serious thing. The next thing I would look at that's also almost as important as sales rank is the subject matter. Now, this is a skill that can quite simply not be taught. It would be impossible. But when you get really, and a lot of you watching this are at this level, where you can look at a book and know from the subject matter whether that book is going to have a passionate audience, an audience that's passionate enough that they're going to be willing to pay exorbitant prices for it, versus a book where that's just not realistic. Now, I'm kind of putting myself on the spot here because now I feel like I have to give you an example of each subject matter. Basically, the more niche and irreplaceable a book is, the more likely someone's willing to pay exorbitant prices for it. The more replaceable a book is, in terms of the subject matter, in other words, the more books that are written on a subject matter, the less likely it is someone's going to need that copy and they're going to be willing to pay exorbitant prices for it. That's the shortest way I can explain it, but there's a lot more to it than that. The point is, that's almost as important as sales rank. So when you combine a sales rank that's not terrible, it might be not great, but it's not terrible, and a subject matter that is not replaceable in any other book in the universe, that is a recipe for actually being able to charge exorbitant prices, including possibly $800. Although I don't think I've ever sold a book for quite that much, but it's possible, right? Maybe it's just I've never been bold enough. I've certainly sold a lot of books at $500, and that's kind of my default. Like when those things align, my default price is $499. I've gotten tons of sales at $499. It does happen. So that's kind of how I think about this question. It's an interesting one. How do you know? Now, let's just say on the flip side, let's just say the subject matter was not so niche that there were no other books on the subject, or there were lots of books on the subject, or it just seems replaceable. It doesn't. The audience for this book doesn't seem passionate enough. It doesn't seem like something they're going to have. I would probably, in that case, and let's say the rank was like 3 million or up, I would probably price it downward to something I would consider more realistic. So like more towards the average. And I might actually undercut the lowest seller in this case if I thought that their price was just not realistic. And that is a skill you learn over time. But these are questions that can be very high stakes. The difference between $200 and $800 is significant. So it's worth thinking about this in kind of both a qualitative and a quantitative fashion, doing a thorough analysis and making a decision based on that, not just throwing a dart blind and relying entirely on either, let me see what crazy number I can put on this since no one else is selling it, or on the other end, let me just chase the price down, underprice everybody, and price at what's, quote, realistic. Oftentimes, neither of those are the correct answer. Okay, this person says, delete if annoyed. I just lost my job and it was okay at first, but now it's hitting me. I don't know how I can make income. I tried to learn this, but never dove hard. I know it takes time and it's not that cheap to start. Okay, I don't even need to finish this post. This is time for some Peter Valley. This is a fatherly advice segment of this video. Okay, here's the deal, you guys. This kills more millionaires or bazillionaires or 100,000-aires or more successful entrepreneurs than anything else, which is the shiny object syndrome, where you're jumping from one thing to the next. Okay, I think we all kind of know how that works. But here's the thing. Here's how you measure whether or not you should dive into something and focus on it intensely. First of all, you've got to pick something. You always have to pick something. But if you find a model, if you're cruising the internet, you're cruising YouTube, whatever, you find a business model that you can confirm other people are doing, that you can confirm works, and that you actually trust the people you're talking to, which is kind of a key element. A lot of times people come across a business model and it's like some like car salesman guru guy, and you're like, I don't trust this guy. Go ahead and safely just dismiss those. That's fine. And there's a lot of salesmen like people in the Amazon selling world. Don't get me wrong, tons of them, right? I'm not saying dismiss the entire model. I'm just saying the people you're specifically listening to, if you trust them, once those ingredients fall into place, you know it's successful, you know people are doing it successfully, and you have some trusted sources of information that's actually working, dive in. Get sample maybe a handful, 5 or 10 business models, maybe max. Pick one and dive in. It should be suited to your personality. That's a really, really important one. You should be able to confirm that it will reasonably meet your income goals. And number 3, the startup capital required can't be prohibitive. You actually have to have enough money to start the business. Some businesses take lots of money to start. Once you check those 3 boxes, you just got to pick something. More is not better. Learning 100 business models casually is not better than 10. Okay, it's significantly worse because you're just getting distracted. You're never going to pick anything. And then once you pick something, consistency. You just do the thing that made you $10, 10 more times to get $100, or 1,000 times to get $10,000, and that's all it is. So I'm looking at this person here in this Facebook post, and there's talk. I didn't even get very far. I got like 3 sentences in, but this person's saying, they never really dove in hard, and so it sounds like they're kind of dabbling. I'm reading this. I'm reading this in real time here. Should I just stay the heck with it? I'm in an Amazon seller account, but I never did anything with it. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You just got to pick something. 5 business models, 10. Pick a few, get like very generally acquainted with a small number, and you just got to pick something. And you have to be content, just like getting married. Honestly, you've got to be content knowing it's possible you didn't make the best possible decision, but you made a decision, which is better than most people. All right, guys, we covered a lot of ground. You now have a 3-part mission. Are you ready? Mission number 1, subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can build a whole business off of what I give away for free. Do it right now. Number 2, get all my free stuff. Hit the link below this video. Go to fbamastery.com. Get free reports, free web classes, no strings attached. Free means free. Hit the link below this video right now. And mission number 3, take what you learned in this video and go make money with it. This is Peter Valley signing off. See you in the next video.